You see the difference when Amari's on the floor as opposed to when Carmelo is out. Like when Carmelo's out and off the floor and not coming back into the game, the Knicks play a different style of ball. The ball moves more. Guys like Novak and Kidd actually seem to benefit because their shots are just a little bit more open. They don't have people constantly in their face. Amari stepped up, played a good game, shot really well, scored 22 points. And the Knicks came back from a 22-point deficit to win the game.
And the worst part is that they were down to 22 when Melo got taken out. So the real question is this team better or worse without Carmelo Anthony?
They're definitely, and there's no question about it, they're definitely a worse team without Carmelo. You cannot take a player of his caliber, of his skill set, of his scoring ability off of your team and call your team better. I don't care what team he's on. He makes any team he's on a better team.
But the ball, I
understand,
this question,
yeah, because the ball tends to move.
The ball doesn't move the same way. It's a lot less of a team-oriented offense. It's a lot more based on his isolation and him in the post and him in this and him in that.
Yes and no, though. But you look at it in the first, 25 games of the season when they were on a hot tear, absolute tear, 18-5 start. Melo was a part of all that. They were moving the ball well with him on the floor.
Were they moving it as well? Because I don't think so.
They were moving it well.
I won't say they weren't moving it well early in the season, but
they played defense and they moved the ball around. That was the difference in the Knicks to start the season. Since then, the defense has slacked to the point where they only seem to turn it on in the second half, most times. And the shooting has become streaky because they don't move the ball around as much as they did in the early part of the season. Now, with Melo out, it gives Felton a chance to move it around a little more. It gives guys some more open looks. And it gives Amari more of a chance to do what he does without Melo there. I don't think Melo's going to miss a lot of time from everything I've heard and read about the injury. It's apparently an injury he's been dealing with for at least a week, probably maybe even longer than that.
Yeah. Do you agree with Christina? Give him the next game off.
They're playing Detroit, absolutely. Give them the next game off. They're not playing anybody pressing where they're not playing a playoff team. They're playing the Pistons.
Yeah. Which is a game.
By all means, sit him against the Pistons. Yeah. You do not need Carmelo to beat. If you need Carmelo to beat the Pistons, then something's wrong there.
Then the team's not as good as we want to think they are. I will say, look, you do notice differences in how this team plays basketball with and without Melo on the floor. I think Melo gets an extra motivation from playing against the superstars and other big teams in the league, and that's when having him is almost most unmatched. Like, he steps up his game when he plays against the best of the best. He does. Now, he got shut down in the second half of the game on Sunday with LeBron guarding him, but that also limited what LeBron was doing because he was dedicating so much energy to guarding Melo. It's similar to a give-and-take type of situation. What I do think, though, is I think it's quite obvious in a game like last night that Amari is better without Melo on the court because the offense flows through him. They play that inside-outside basketball that we were actually just talking about yesterday, where you're sitting there and you're watching this team get it into Amari in the post. He makes a move. It forces the defense to collapse, kicks it out. It gets swung around. And you watch this team play without Melo. And I don't want to – look, I agree. When you can get a superstar on your team, you get a superstar on your team, and you keep them playing. But I do agree with you, Al Money, in the chat room saying, J.R. Smith has been cold, Kidd. Even Novak's been cold. The whole team has sort of gone cold over the past month or so, no question about it. But what's ironic to me is, like I said, they look more like a team without Melo on the court. Everybody gets their touches. The ball moves around the perimeter. There really is no stopping of the ball compared to when Melo's on the court. The ball can get to him on the wing, and he goes with an isolation, and it just doesn't really – it doesn't always work. If he's not shooting 50% or better, then it's almost a miss with your offensive possession. Felton, I completely agree. Al Money, Felton is arguably one of the biggest keys to that entire team. That pick and roll he runs with Tyson Chandler makes a huge impact on how they execute. And actually, the pick and roll that he ran with Chandler is one of the plays that helped put the game away last night.
They need to get back to doing more of that. That's
more pick and roll.
More pick and roll. They haven't done as much of it the second half of the season. They just haven't. I think it's a big part of the game. And, it goes to that inside-out mentality. You run the pick and roll, you kick the ball down low. Defense collapses, draws a double team, kick it out. You got open shooters.
Yeah, and you watch them. I mean, pick and roll. You get the ball down low to Amari. There's not many. Look, I don't care if Amari's getting older. I don't care if his back hurts him every now and then. Simple fact of the matter is there are not many guys in the NBA that can guard Amari Stoudemire one-on-one. Not many. What I will say is that when I look at this team, I think they work very well with Amari being the center of attention on the offense because they play that inside-outside game, like I've said before. But when you watch them with Melo, it tends to end up in this isolation on the wing, which, if he's not shooting good, hurts the team. And that's the bottom line. That's all I'm trying to say. I agree. They're better with Melo than they are without Melo, no question about it. Especially when the playoffs come, a superstar is arguably your biggest key to advancing. But the ball does not move as well with Carmelo Anthony on the court. And I think that's really what I'm trying to get across. Not that I think they're better without him.